Mr. Speaker, Labour's surrender of British sovereignty has been welcomed by China, Russia and Iran, and now we learn that the UK will have to notify Mauritius of any military operations coming from Diego Garcia jeopardising our national security. Far from upholding our international obligations, this treaty is a shameful betrayal of British Chagosians, with no guarantee of access to Mauritian-controlled 40 million of trust fund, while British taxpayers fork out 30 billion to subsidise tax cuts in Mauritius. So, I ask the Minister, why won't the government allow this House a proper debate and a vote before the 21-day CRAG deadline next week? And shouldn't we actually keep the Chagos Islands British and under the protection of the Crown? Wouldn't that be a better policy?
Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, half of his question was rhetoric and half of it was completely wrong, and he might want to consider correcting the record on a number of points. We do not have to inform Mauritius before undertaking military action from the base. It's regarding expedition information after actions. There is no fettering of our ability to operate from there. The costs he quoted were simply wrong. It's 101 million averaged over. The total net present value of the payments is 3.4 billion. There have been all sorts of wild figures pasted around, Mr. Speaker. They don't reflect the reality. This is considered by the government actuaries, and I really do hope, given the wide geopolitical threats that this country and our allies face at the moment, that he would come with some more serious questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Foreign Secretary is an old friend, the member for Lincoln, a Lincolnshire neighbour who, in all his innocence, I regard with a degree of paternal care. And so I asked this question more in sorrow than in anger. And this assumption, rooted in the government statements, is that unless we do a deal with Mauritius, the International Telecommunications Union could decide that Mauritius is sovereign and deny access to both the US and the UK. This is fundamentally untrue. The ITU has no competence in that regard, is ignored by the US already. So I want us to confirm that that argument is entirely bogus. And this is not a deal, this is not diplomacy, this is a disgrace.
Minister.
Well, I thoroughly reject that statement by the honourable gentleman. He knows I have a lot of respect for him, but I'm afraid he's completely mistaken on this. And the fact is the courts were already making decisions that undermined our position. Legally binding provisional measures could have come within weeks, affecting the operational ability of our base to function as it was. And of course, we believe that an inevitable binding judgment would follow. The deal has been done. This House is now scrutinising it. I've appeared before 2 committees in recent weeks, Mr. Speaker, and of course there will be further such scrutiny over the weeks ahead.
Stuart Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the Minister confirm, under the current circumstances, if the US want to launch an attack on Iran from Diego Garcia, will the UK government support it?
Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, as the Foreign Secretary has made absolutely clear, there was no UK involvement in the US strikes on Iran. He will understand we don't comment on private conversations with our allies or on hypothetical operations.
David Reid.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I had hoped for a more precise answer to my question. So rather than pressing again for exact figures or a departmental breakdown, let me proceed down a related line of inquiry and ask this. Is there any mechanism, legal or otherwise, that the Mauritian government could use to reopen the Chagos negotiation or to request further financial or material assistance in a way that could result in additional costs for the British taxpayer?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I've set out the costs very clearly. They average out at 101 million over the course of the deal. That compares very favourably with, for example, what France pays for its military facility in Djibouti. This treaty has been entered into in good faith between the UK and Mauritius. It will be legally binding, and we're absolutely clear that it's compliant with international law and all of our other obligations.
Lord MacDougall.
Mr. Speaker, when the Foreign Affairs Committee were recently in Washington, we raised the Diego Garcia deal with the administration. And, Mr. Speaker, they could not have been more enthusiastic for this deal because they recognise that it secures our strategic interests in the area. Does the Minister agree with me that it's maybe time for the people in the benches opposite, the members in the benches opposite, to stop playing politics with national defence?
Reversed it round.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I couldn't agree more. This deal is supported by the United States, it's supported by our Five Eyes partners, it's supported by India. It secures our national security the security of our allies and this base well into the next century. As I've said repeatedly many times, if there wasn't a problem, why did the previous government start negotiating? Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I'll answer questions 9, 10 and 14 together. The Diego Garcia military base deal secures the future of the strategically critical US-UK military base. It will protect our national security for generations and ensure we maintain vital capabilities. It's our most significant contribution to the transatlantic defence and security partnership and has been strengthened since our agreement with the previous Mauritian government and the deal indeed under discussion by the previous government. The payments will be split between the FCDO and MOD and published in the usual way. And of course the opposition understands the jeopardy facing the base and the necessity of this treaty, which is why they started negotiating in the first place.